podcast for those who suffer, which is everyone.
It's a space where we can speak honestly about what it feels like to be in desolate places without losing hope.
Welcome to In the Thicket.
Welcome to 2023. We're so glad to have you back with us, all of our regular listeners, and a hello to those who are new. And we're happy to be back with you for the second half of season 3. Today we are talking about the experience after the mountaintop. So what does that mean? Well, we sometimes have these mountaintop experiences, whether it's on a retreat or a conference or something like that, where the Lord has moved in a really powerful way. And then we go back to our ordinary everyday life. And sometimes that can be really painful and really disorienting. So we'll talk today about what that experience is like. And we also talk about how we can experience peace on the other side of the mountain and how we can mine those beautiful experiences and bring them into our everyday lives. And we hope it's helpful for you. God bless.
Hey, everybody. Happy New Year.
Hi, Nicole. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Welcome to all of those of you who are listening. Thanks for tuning in. I am Nicole.
I'm Rachel.
And I'm Erin.
Thanks for listening today. Rachel, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm like, it's like, I feel the same way every New Year, which is, it's weird. Every New Year, it just is weird. Whoa, a whole year passed and now we're in the next one and the numbers change when you have to write down the date. And I'm always a little over dramatic about the fact that like a whole year has gone by.
Yeah.
So
have you ever found, I've noticed this, I just noticed this more like this year where I'm like, it's just Saturday. Like, or it's just
true.
another day. Like, and not think, I mean, like, okay, yeah, the date changes, but because it's most of the thing is like, I'm not really going to stay up till midnight. I just, yeah. So,
yeah.
And so then it's just like, I don't know.
It's true. It's kind of lost. Like I remember being in university and it was like a big deal. Like you have to buy tickets to the pub or the bar that you want to go to because they have parties. Because I was in Halifax. So there's like a lot of university students and it has the most number of pubs and bars per capita in all of North America, apparently. So for that reason, yeah. But then like this year my dad and I went over to my sister and brother-in-law's house. And like hung out with them and the nephews for a little while. The nephews went to bed. We played a game of Ace King, which is a card game that is like a family card game for money. We can never not play for money. It has to be for money or people won't play. So it's like the big bucks, like a toonie.
Nice.
Which is $2.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say for American listeners, a toonie in Canada is $2.
That's right. Yeah. And then we came back here to my parents' house and for midnight so that my mom wouldn't be on her own. But then her and my dad ended up going to bed before midnight. So I was like, okay, well, I'm going to, I think, go to bed. But then I remembered, I think it was a sister who was talking about how each year leading up to New Year's, they spend the last half hour of the year praying in front of the Blessed Sacrament, thanking God, like going over what's happened in the last year, thanking God for all the graces. And then the first half hour of the New Year, like asking for graces for the new year. And I was like, that's nice. So I did my own modified version, which was like a 15-minute thank you. And then like a 5-minute, can I please have some graces? Because I was tired.
Yeah. 5 minutes and then bedtime.
Beautiful.
But it was lovely.
I love that.
I love that.
I think, CCO in Canada and I think Focus in the States does the same thing, right? They have their end of year conference and then they're like the New Year dinner.
Although CCO does it like right over New Year's. Seek is like the week after, probably because they have similar speakers. So the speakers are like
right. So CCO is where they do it over New Year. I always love that because there's praise and worship right after. I think so they have a big dance and then they count down the New Year in each time zone of Canada, which is there's like 5 time zones or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah,
really wrong, but there's a bunch, and they
half or something.
Yeah, that's right. If you count down the New Year,
Newfoundland. Yeah.
I think, and then maybe at the New Year's of the time zone wherever they're having the conference, at that point, they transition into a praise and worship session. And I always just found that so beautiful because it's you're starting the new year off in prayer and community, and there's something really powerful about that. Which
that's very true.
Yeah,
cool.
That's fun.
My New Year's this year, I just got home. I literally flew home a few hours ago from Toronto, home being Nashville. And I've been in, I think I counted 6 different cities in the last 6 weeks.
Oh boy.
It's just been like
That's a lot.
wild. And now I'm home. And so maybe that's why New Year's was a bit anticlimactic, because it was also like the weekend in between trips. We had just come home from Nathan's family for Christmas. And then we headed out actually to the Seek conference.
Oh,
Nathan
right.
was
Yeah.
attending that. So
Yeah.
um
Which is a
but yeah.
perfect segue to what we're talking
There we
about
go.
today.
It's true. Yeah, because we were talking about, what do we want to talk about for the new year? And because there's different things associated. There can be little suffering associated with the new year of, like, I think I've talked about before, of like New Year's resolutions, and sometimes they don't stick, or just varying things. We also discussed a potential topic idea was like the January doldrums, when we're kind of, it's just maybe especially in Canada where it's just cold and it's kind of still dark and Christmas is all over, and so it's, everyone kind of gets sad. But kind of along those lines, we wanted to talk about today the kind of after the mountaintop experiences. So maybe if you've ever had just one of those wonderful life experiences, or like think of myself as like a teenager or young adult going on retreats with other young adults, kind of like the ones we're talking about, Seek or Rise Up.
Yeah.
And then coming back home, and during the retreat, maybe you're all fired up and you're excited about God and you're excited about prayer and you're excited about all this community that you found and these new friends. And then you kind of come back and
everything sucks.
You're just, you're just like, oh yeah, the normal life, and it's not, it's not as easy to get up and pray every morning. And it's not, you don't have maybe the same community, and now you just gotta study or go back to work or whatever it is. I think this is just like a common experience for a lot of people, even the build up to big events like weddings or graduations or moves or something like that. And there's always a lot of build up, and there can be like a letdown afterwards. So that's our topic today. So maybe it's the New Year's letdown or whatever it is, Yeah. So Rachel or Aaron, I will let you guys jump in. When have you, what's an example of this? What have you experienced this in your lives?
Well, I just thought of a really good example of when I probably always up until my mid-20s, I always was depressed after Easter, because because in the liturgical year, you have Advent and then Christmas, and then, sort of still kind of feasty sort of feeling even after Christmas. And then you start Lent, and then it's Easter. And then it's really after Easter that you're in ordinary time for the long haul. And I remember being kind of depressed or something. And one year I was living with some other Catholic girls. I think I was in law school, and I just really wanted ordinary time to feel better. So I made one of my friends an ordinary time card, and I was like, it's ordinary time. Let's do this.
So cute.
I just was like, there's got to be more to ordinary time than it's boring. And obviously we know that there is, but I kind of needed to enter into something. There's something special about this time that I need to hold on to,
It's funny how those, like, because I can think of so many experiences, or we used to even talk about it, like when I was working in youth ministry, whatever, we would talk at the end of the retreat to have like a little talk about, going home and going forward. What does it look like to even just warn people about the mountaintop experience is real, like the Lord does real things. And sometimes we can kind of discount that he actually did wonderful, amazing things in our life, because it's like we experience the normal after, and then we're like, oh no, I think we just forget the goodness of those things. So like to remember those things and to write them down, but then also to kind of warn people, like, but when you get home, it might possibly be a little bit of a culture shock, that you're going to get home and your family's not going to be wanting to like pause and break out in praise and worship immediately for like, it's just a different thing, These actually, they probably still do on NET too. It's like if you do NET, so NET is National Evangelization Teams. They have it in the US and Australia and Canada, Uganda. But it's young adults who, give this year of their life to go and do retreats for young people, and you live as a team. It's super intense. There's like beautiful depths of things. But then, if you go back home to your family, and it's just like, your normal family and friends life, and you're like, why do you guys not want to lay hands on each other and pray for the descent of the Holy Spirit?
Why are you going to work? God has big plans for you. Don't go.
That's right. We have to save the world. What's the
Yeah.
matter with you? Yeah. Yeah. So that's like but
Not
it is
that-
a real thing, you
yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And I remember like so many times feeling like, you know, you leave someplace like a retreat or whether it's like Christmas or just some other experience, and you're like, I am fundamentally changed. And then a week later, you're like, I am not fundamentally changed. And it's like disappointing, you know?
It is. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I
I mean,
wonder
you
too.
are. That's,
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing that you were just saying. Something did happen. And I think that's an important point that we should kind of pause on for a second to say
Mhm.
the mountaintop experience is real. Something real does happen and it does carry over, even though it
Mhm.
doesn't feel like it does
Right.
a lot of the time.
Mhm.
Yeah. I'm just thinking about okay, spoiler alert, we're going to talk at the end of this podcast about our words of the year.
Mm.
And I just realized that my word of the year, which has a quote associated with it, is kind of exactly about this. Kind of relates. Should I share it now or should I wait?
You could share it now. We still have 2 other reveals at the end.
Okay, that's
Yes,
true. I just
yes.
And
feel like
plus,
it-
we
that
can
should-
reveal your saint of the year at the end.
Okay,
So
okay,
that's-
perfect.
And I'm super curious, so I can't.
Okay. So there we go. So the last year and this year, I've like my word of the year has just been something that's kind of come to me in prayer, or it suddenly seems like it's being like hit over my head, and like it keeps coming up. And so this year, the word that kept coming up, it seems almost like trite and obvious, but it's the word peace. And the quote that I saw, it was like on Instagram or something. It's a Pope Francis quote that really kind of cemented it in. I was like, this is why peace is on my heart. I'll read it out to you. I pulled it up on my computer here. Here it is. Okay. So this is Pope Francis. He says, peace is a gift of God, but requires our efforts. Let us be people of peace in prayer and deed. And it was just kind of convicting, because there's been so many times in my life where I've been going through something really difficult, and I experienced that there's sort of the peace that surpasses all understanding, where I shouldn't be feeling peaceful, but I do feel peaceful, and it's just a grace, it's just a gift. Kind of like that mountaintop experience, right, where it's just God is doing something and you're experiencing it and you're living in it, and everything's just kind of working, you know. And then I've had times where it's not so easy. It's like after that initial grace and that initial kind of honeymoon period, and you're like, wow, I'm just not anxious anymore. Whatever, I'm not being so peaceful. Now all of the old temptations for me to worry and to be anxious and to, just worry and be anxious come. And now I have to make a choice to continue in the peace of God that I've been given. And so that is my word for the year, is to receive peace, yes, trust in the peace of God, but also to choose it. So I just think that relates to that mountaintop experience, right? Whatever graces that you've been given, they're real, and now you have to kind of also cooperate with that grace and do the work.
It reminds me of Father Jacques Philippe in Searching for and Maintaining Peace. If you've read that book, it's like excellent.
Yeah, I need to read it again.
And he says there at one point, he's like, there's no good reason to lose your peace. Which is like a very loaded, right? It's so loaded.
It's a crazy thing to say, really.
But if you look at that exactly in light of these experiences, it's like, like, because I think sometimes, it is. And it's just like, it's such a reminder that actually sometimes we think God just works, or we just expect him to work in the big ways, or to like give bigger or something like that. But actually the more normal way that he works is in the very little, the very quiet, the very gentle, the very peaceful, the very like, you know, which we forget.
I'm resonating so much with all of this, because over my break, it was also busy, not as busy as yours, Nicole, but similar in that there was a lot of traveling. So I was in Washington, then I spent a little time in Texas, then I went back to Toronto, and in Toronto I had a New Year's party actually. So I had some of my friends over, my parents, and it was really fun. And then I got to see all these people and doctor's appointments, all these things. And then I got back to DC the weekend before my classes started on the Saturday. And, I just thought, oh, this is, and I had some kind of crazy experiences on that trip too, but I just came back and I felt I had such a good trip, but I was excited, just kind of like you were saying, to be home. I was sort of relieved to be home in a certain sense and ready to start the semester. And for me, in a lot of different ways, God has been saying, slow down. That has been a big theme for me for this year, where I just have felt like he's been very serious in telling me that I need to slow down. And the way that I've understood that is not just in pace. Like I think I'm called to slow down in pace, and I'm called to slow down in my, your in the rhythm of your everyday. If you're going to class, there's a way in which you can rush to class, or there's a way in which you can sort of slowly make your way to class.
Right.
Okay? But also to slow down in my thinking. So to be intentional about what I'm doing, be intentional about, everything, so that I'm not just reacting all the time, but I'm responding from a deeper place. So this is sort of the theme that I kind of came back to school with. And then day 3 of coming back to school, some crazy stuff, like nothing, it's not all related to me, but just in my environment and in reality, just some crazy things happening. And I really went back to that, and what Father Jack Philippe is saying, and the idea that I should not lose my peace here. I should not change my pace still. I need to stay slow, and I need to, like, things are rushing at me. And instead of changing into sort of this rush in response, I can sort of slow the tide in my own response, and I can just be slow and intentional, and even today, actually, so funny, even today, I kind of had this anxiety about a particular thing going on. And it was a reminder. The anxiety really didn't have to do with the thing. It had to do with whether or not I could remember that Jesus is my constant, and he will never not be my constant. So despite my sister and I called it like the flips that sometimes happen in life, where you think everything's one way and it's okay, and then everything just flips on you and you're not really sure how to handle it, which has sort of been some aspects of my week. I realized, no, wait, like Mary has come up so much this week for me, and the moment of the Annunciation, in some ways that's like the biggest flip ever, just like this huge flip. And nothing really totally makes sense. And you're not really sure what's going to happen, or she wasn't really sure what's going to happen. But there was no reason, even in that moment, for her to panic. And her yes to the angel was not a rushed, panicked, or fearful yes. It was a very deep, intentional, free yes, So just kind of this invitation, just riffing off of what both of you are saying, I think this capacity that does exist, where God lives in us, for us to keep our peace and hold on to it in a real way, not in a desperate way, just in a peaceful way,
And it keeps, I was just going to say, it keeps mining into, like, Ignatian spirituality talks often about, like, you have these moments of grace, and then like Ignatius says, to go back to those moments, like if you receive a grace, or you receive a consolation, or there's something, and if you're talking about those mountaintop moments, it probably is actually peace in a way, right? Like it is that presence of God, who is peaceful, who is love, who is secure, who is beautiful, who is good. Like it's an experience of that. And so then we can, it's not like it goes away after, but actually the Lord means for it to be like a gift that keeps on giving, right? It's like, but we do have to have some intentionality in that, of like sitting with the experience and going back to it in our prayer time. Or like if there was like I remember one time when I was praying over the past couple of weeks, I was like, what can I give you, Lord? I can give you myself, but I am very messy and ridiculous. And so that doesn't seem like enough. So I can give you my heart. You just want my heart. You don't want the things that I do. You want my heart. Like, but my heart is a festering garbage dump in a lot of ways. So you don't want you do want my heart, but I feel like it's hard to give something that's a festering garbage dump in some ways, Anyway, so then I was like, what is it then? I'm like, it's my poverty. You want my poverty. You want my poor heart. You want my poverty. And there's like something so comforting in that. But it's like, now I know. So this is like the word poverty. And I can, if I'm having a moment where I'm feeling insecure in my relationship with the Lord, or like I'm not or just whatever it is, then it's like, even just to think of that word poverty is like tapping into the riches of that one time sitting with him, which is like
I love that.
It's a beautiful thing.
That is beautiful.
To like pick on a word from an experience that helps you recall it. I love that. That's kind of a cool hack.
That's a cool hack.
Totally,
or like a smell or a picture.
To actually intentionally associate with something that you can easily bring to mind when you're forgetting,
Yeah, exactly. Because there's a moment of I don't know if this is a good translation, but I heard once there was a talk where someone translated to a more accurate translation of the word shalom, which we often translate as peace, is may you become as God has always intended you to be. And which I always thought was super beautiful.
Yeah.
And so that, these mountaintop experiences are it's almost like a little preview or a trailer or honeymoon moment of this shalom. Like everything feels like, this is how it's intended to be. This is how I'm intended to be. And as you guys are saying, and then we have to go and kind of live into the reality. And I was just thinking too, and this is maybe taking it with a little bit of a different analogy, but it's like those, one way of thinking about it is those mountaintop experiences is kind of like the trailer for a movie where it's like all the cool parts and like a bit of the storyline and you're like, ooh, this looks so good. Like,
that's amazing.
And then you have to go and like watch the whole movie and there's probably going to be parts that aren't so great, but it's part of the story. And it's like sometimes we want to just go and stay in the trailer because it's thin. It's actually not the whole depth of things, but only in entering into the whole movie can we actually experience the fullness of the story that we got the preview of, right?
And if it's a good movie, which obviously God only writes good movies.
That's
right. Cheesy line for the year, but there you go. But if it's a good movie, then the other parts will make those poppy moments from the trailer even like that much more meaningful.
It'll be better. That's right.
Yeah.
The highs will be higher. The lows may be lower, but the highs are going to be higher.
Exactly.
And it's funny because I'm laughing internally as I'm even using this analogy because I'm somebody who actually struggles to watch movies. Right. I either fall asleep halfway through. My preference is to watch movies that have little to no substance so that I don't really have to like feel the things because I'm such an empath. And if I watch like a actual really good movie where there's like it shows like some aspect of life and character development, I'm in shock after. I usually have to cry something out. It's like a whole ordeal for me. And Nathan, my husband, who loves movies and loves like really good, like kind of artsy movies and really wants to share this with me. We watched a movie last week and it was an excellent movie. And he was talking to Nathan afterwards. He's like, I think it relates to like, this thing and And I was like, well, that makes sense. I'm just really stuck on that one like gory part. And it's like replaying in my mind. And then I cried. And then he was just kind of like, oh no, so, but it's, there's something analogous for me too, because I am somebody who loves those mountaintop experiences. I love when everything feels right and feels like it's all working. And for me, it was like, I would have these maybe everyone's going to be like, oh, you're so weird. But anyways, these mountaintop experiences when I was in my semester in undergrad, because I was like, I had these really concrete, finite tasks of all my assignments to do. And I had these timelines and deadlines and it was a challenge and I was like doing it. And then all the exams would finish and it was like, I would be in shock. And I actually would experience a really like low mood for about a week where I had trouble getting out of bed and I felt aimless about life. I felt like I had no purpose. like kind of, and then I
Nicole,
would
you're hilarious.
I know. And
Amazing.
actually that persisted for
That's
several years
amazing.
after my degree, where I'd have a week in April and a week in December where I would be inexplicably like really down. And then I remember, this is just the anniversary of the end of the semester. It's fine.
You
Right.
were made to be a professor. That is
Ugh,
so
yeah.
funny. That
But
is
it, yeah,
so funny.
I know. But
Everyone
it's
is
like,
like, how is that possible? Everyone's like,
I know.
no, I love it. I think it's the best. It's
But
amazing.
I had to learn then to live into the moments where my life wasn't so structured and there weren't as clear expectations of me. And I had to, find virtue and find structure in my life without it being externally imposed, and all of those kinds of virtuous things that that I found more difficult, right? So in the sense of like, oh, this is what I'm intended to do. I'm in the right place for me. And now this, maybe I'm, in the summer or something, I'd work at Tim Hortons and like it was fine and it was good. But it was a different experience. And like,
Yeah.
sometimes our mountaintops are great, but maybe we have a long stretches of time where we're not in a place where we know this isn't what I'm called to do. I'm not, this is not, my job isn't giving me life, or my work, whatever it is, something is not, just the relationshiip's in a tough spot. And just like going back to the movie analogy, it's like, yeah, sometimes we go through these long stretches of like, yeah, just
not a lot of action.
not a lot of action and not a lot of good stuff, or the action doesn't really,
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. I find it really interesting too, that even though we're talking about peace, right? Because peace is a fruit of the Holy Spirit. Like, it's a gift of the Holy Spirit. It's not something that we can achieve really, or like manufacture, or we can cooperate, and we can, like, it's the same with holiness, right? Like, we have to choose what we do, how we sit. Like, there's a certain element of intentionality about it. And I think the same for peace, of like the way we set up our day, or even like, yeah, going back to those experiences, or remembering, like you did, Nicole, like this is an anniversary, and it's like, there are things that we can do, but that it's like, in those times when it seems like after the mountaintop and you get back into normal life, it almost seems like normal life is worse than it was before, because there's just a difference, right? It's not like we feel like we're going back to normal. It's like somehow it feels like impoverished in a way, but
and
but
maybe
that,
it is in some way,
or you see it for what it is, kind of.
Right, exactly. I mean, I'm thinking of, for some reason, I'm just thinking right now of Moses and the 10 Commandments. He's up there and he receives these tablets, and he comes down, and the Israelites are going berserk.
Yeah,
everybody's
sacrificing to idols, and
yeah, exactly. And he just was like, he saw the face of God, and he got this like this moral code, this deep reality that he's bringing down. And then things are actually worse than when he went up, in a certain sense. And sometimes they are, or sometimes, like you said, Nicole, we see things for how they are, and we see ourselves. Maybe that's also why sometimes, you were saying, oh, I'm fundamentally changed, then you're like, I'm fundamentally not. But maybe it's just that the mountaintop experience helps us see ourselves more clearly.
Well, I think it's a taste of what we're called to, right? Like, it is a taste of heaven. Like, what is heaven going to be like? Sometimes I think we get afraid of thinking of hoping for too much from heaven, if that makes sense in some way. But
hoping for too much from heaven on this side of heaven, like,
or even just like, well, it can't be possible that I won't have any pain there, that I won't have any struggles, that there will be no worry, that there will be complete, like, because we don't even have a way to conceive of it in all, or hoping for too much in this life. But it's like those experiences of these like little tastes really do, like you say, point out that it's not what we have here. Like, here is a transitory, here there is suffering, here there is pain, here my poverty level is high. Whereas it's like, it won't, but there's like these little tastes of, oh, like, this is the possibility, and that's good. But sometimes it's just like, we lose that frame of reference, that it is actually an eternal thing. It is actually, like what we will be in an eternity, and we seek to somehow manufacture it here. And then we just lose that piece of being able to be okay.
And I wonder sometimes that even the seeing our own, I think that you guys are both kind of hinting at this, but the seeing our own sinfulness and impoverishment and all that, that's actually a grace in itself, because I heard one analogy once of like when you're driving a car, and your windshield is dirty. If you're driving towards like the shadow, basically like away from the sun, you can't see the dirt on your window. But if you're driving towards the sun, all of the dirt on your window shows up, right? And so similarly, maybe you go on a retreat, or you have some sort of experience, you have a mountaintop experience, and you sort of reorient yourself towards God, and then you keep driving back into your real life, and now you see all the dirt on your window,
Yeah.
I think that's a grace. Like that's just
totally.
reality. We're not perfect. We're full of flaws.
These metaphors today, Nicole, are so good. Like on the ball.
It's true.
I love them.
Yeah, but it's just because I sometimes I think that, or that's been a helpful metaphor for me for whenever, whenever talking to her then sometime, because it and to be on the flip side too, where in times where I'm like, I think I'm doing pretty good, like all my ducks are in a row, I'm like, oh no, I must be driving away from the sun, like it's kind of been a hint to me that, oh, actually I think that's a sign of pride often for me. If I think that like I'm actually like I've got things under control, I've got things pretty good, whereas when I can see all the crap that's happening and my own imperfections, that's usually a sign that I'm still pursuing the Lord in a real way, so
yeah.
So
And it's also, but it's also good to like, even when you're saying that, I'm like, oh, there's like some peace in what you're saying of like a recognition of that. And I think that's true too, that as I've grown more in my relationship with the Lord and just older, becoming an old woman, complete with gray hair and cats, the like those mountaintops and stuff like that, like I can take them without grasping them. And I can I still love, like, even before we were starting, we were talking a little bit. I'm like, sometimes after the mountaintop now, I'm like, get me the heck away from every other person. I don't like, I'm like relishing in a sense the normalness of life with the Lord, which is a good thing. Like that he does kind of teach us how to do that over time, of like appreciating these good and beautiful gifts, but not sinking into despair when they go away. Yeah.
I'm imagining you, Erin, like as probably an even older lady, and being like, oh, what a lovely mountain. And then you just kind of keep driving like or something.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. It's funny that you say in the car, because literally the car right now is the only place, I realized this the other day, where I have solitude, because I'm at my parents' house. There's always some, like my mom is always here. There's always somebody here. So I'm never just alone with the Lord ever, except when I'm in the car. Even if I go to the church to pray, like there's people there, so it's like the one place. So the driving, like, yes, that is absolutely true. Yeah.
What you're saying, Erin, made me think of, and I'm going to butcher it, but this quote by St. Teresa of Avila, where she talks about, I think something like, if you're able to bear your faults or bear with yourself when you sin, if you're able to bear with yourself, you will be peacefully, you will be a beautiful home for God. So there's a way in which, after the mountaintop, we see ourselves, we can see the dirt on the windshield. If we're able to be accepting of that and not freak out and not panic over it, but just sort of keep moving towards the sun and follow God's direction, there's a beautiful, there's, like you were saying, Erin, there's a peace in that, in the seeing of it. And there's a possibility of peace in the accepting of it, not accepting as in, well, great, this is who I am, this is who I'm always going to be.
Right. Yeah.
But the poverty of, this is who I am, Lord, you're making me who it is, the shalom thing, you're making me who you want me to be. So
no, it's true.
Yeah, it's good. Well, good, ladies. And I hope that our meandery, I don't think that's a word, but I'm going to use it. Our meandery discussion today was fruitful in some way for you. Let us know. Yeah. Let us know how your thoughts. How do you deal with the letdown or the valleys after the mountaintops?
Yeah.
Let us know.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
we're
we
gonna
talk
do
about
stuff?
Words of the year? And Saint Cythera, so I've already shared my word of the year.
Mhm.
Erin, you've already chosen a word of the year.
So I did. I
right?
did this actual. So for those who don't know, Jen Fulweiler has a thing that's like a word of the year generator. And it's funny because abiding together, like the ladies on there talk about like discerning their word of the year and things like that. I'm like, that sounds very nice to me, but I feel like I can't concentrate for that. Like it depends on how I am. I've been very like fibromyalgia lately. So it's a little bit harder for me to like intentionally focus on that. I just lay myself down and do whatever. So anyway, so I use the word generator, and my word for this year was allow, which is, I know, right? I'm like, that's a good word, which for me is like, I know 100% immediately what it is like, allow the Lord to love me, allow him to love me, and whatever that looks like. So partially it looks like allow him to love me in my imperfections, because I find that difficult, and allow him to love me practically, like in the things that are happening in my life, and to take care of me in those things. Cause there's lots of stuff that's happening that's unsure about the future and all these kind of things. So like, so it's good. I was like, yeah, that's a good one. I'm not even going to pretend I didn't see it and then click again for one that seems more palatable.
It's like, I don't know. What's a weird one you can get, like leaf or something?
Yeah. Okay, Rach, do you want us to roll
so
yours?
We're gonna do it. Yeah, let's go.
All right, here we go. Sorry, I'm translating English to French. There's a new document that came out for consecrated virgins.
Oh,
which is great. Anyways, okay, ready? Here we go, Rachel. Dun da da da.
Oh
no way.
crazy. Oh my gosh.
So Rachel's word just came up as peace.
Yeah. For those who are listening, Rachel's word is peace. Do you want to choose a new word?
No, I love it. I'm keeping it.
We can share a word this year. That's so nice.
Oh, and I'm gonna think of you, and I'm like, peace.
That's great.
Okay,
that's cool.
That was fun. And then because Nicole did not pick a saint yet, we can find a saint for her, and we can find a saint for Rachel. I did choose my saint thing already.
Nice.
But
who are you
you know what? I want to go. So my saint one is Saint Bernadette Subaru.
Oh, I love her.
Yeah, which is great. I'm going to do this just for fun. I'm clicking another word. Ooh, family. That's fun. Okay, dear listener, maybe that's your word. Who knows?
Oh yeah, someone's word. Listen, yeah, I like that.
Okay, saint of the. So here's your saint, Nicole.
Okay.
Ooh, Ignatius of Loyola.
Nice.
Good one.
He's my almost wedding anniversary saint. Our wedding anniversary is July 31st. Our anniversary is July 30th.
That's nice.
Yeah. That's a good one for peace too.
Yep. And
that's true.
For inner peace, like totally. Consolations, desolations. Yep, totally. And then he's also a patron of retreats. So
boom.
That's kind of what we were talking about today. So that's cool. Okay, choose a new saint. Now this is for you. Ready, Rachel? Here we go.
I'm ready.
Dun, da, 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 da. Anastasia.
Okay.
Oh
boy.
Okay. Feast is December 25th.
Oh my gosh. Maybe it's like an Eastern saint.
Maybe.
Otherwise unlikely.
Yeah.
I'm gonna look her up right now for us.
Yeah.
I've never heard of
Anastasia of
I'm gonna write her down so that
Sirmium. She is a patron saint of martyrs, weavers, and widows.
All right. I mean, I'm not married, so
exactly.
It feels like
so you can cross that one out.
Maybe I'll make sure not to get married in this year, so that I don't have a real quick one.
That's
married for 3 months. Then
that's
widowed.
right.
All right,
yeah, you want to have start weaving. Yes,
a little tutorial on Saint Anastasia.
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
So she did die on December 25th in the year 304.
Wow.
She died in what is now Serbia. So she is venerated in the Eastern churches, yes. And she's venerated as, in the Eastern Orthodox Church, she's venerated as Saint Anastasia the Pharmacolatria, i.e. the deliverer from potions. Interesting.
Wow.
So nice story there.
That's cool.
So she also patron saint of those suffering from poison.
Oh.
So maybe that's how she died. Her saint. So she was a Roman woman, pupil of Saint Chrysogonus.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
Yep. She's long been venerated as a healer and exorcist. Her relic.
Great.
Isn't that cool?
Great.
Her relics are
really
in
cool.
Croatia. And she is one of 7 women who, along with the Blessed Virgin Mary, are commemorated by name in the Roman canon of the Mass.
Right. That is pretty
That's
dang cool, you guys.
cool. Yeah.
We just learned all about this new woman
Anyway,
who I'm
there's
really
lots,
excited to get to know.
Lots on
That's
Wikipedia
amazing.
about her, so you can look her
Yeah.
up.
There you go. Which is actually pretty good, because some of the saints from, but way back, it's like nothing is known about this person.
Yeah.
You're
Right.
like, well, how are they a saint in the church? That seems
right.
odd to me. But
Saint Edgar of,
Saint Edgar of
Willingham.
Willibury. What?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
That's cool.
That is so cool. So we got
Nice.
Saint Bernadette, Saint Ignatius, Saint
Mhm.
Anastasia.
Yeah.
Cool.
Awesome. And so the feast day is December 25th. Yeah, July 31st. And then I think Saint Bernadette is April 14th, if I'm not
Nice.
mistaken. But yeah.
Have you guys seen the movie, like that old movie about Saint Bernadette? What's it called? Shoot, something like Song of Bernadette or
I
something
think
like
I
that.
watched it in grade
Yes.
5.
It's really good. It's honestly really good. It's black and white, so it's
yeah,
old.
I hated it.
I'm sure that makes sense. But I think it's really good. I genuinely think it's really good.
I don't remember it super well.
I
did
cried
you?
so much. I was
I think it's just because it's black and white. I was like, black and white.
There were these kids VHSs, like saint stories by CCC, Quality Entertainment for the whole family, and they've got one on
Okay,
Saint
on Saint
Bernadette.
Bernadette. Okay, sweet. Well, I'll try and look it up.
cool.
I also don't like cartoon movies. We know this well,
Yes.
so that's
Erin, you're very hard to please.
not going.
right now.
I know.
Yeah. You should just go to Lourdes then.
Yeah.
You know,
You might. Well, this was grade 5 though that you also didn't like Song of
Yeah,
Bernadette.
that's
And
true.
now
You might have different
might
taste.
be a little different. So I would
That's
try it
true.
one more time.
Okay,
Yeah,
I'll
that's
try
true.
one more time and see. Okay, cool.
That's
All right. Well, listen, it was great to be back with you, ladies.
Yes.
You too.
Yeah.
Thanks everybody for listening. This is
Mm-hmm.
New Year. And here we go.
We can shout out Christiane Facts. I don't know if we shouted out Christiane before. I can't remember, but
I don't think we did.
oh,
Maybe we did.
okay. Hi, Christiane. Because
Hi.
she will leave some comments on the YouTube video sometimes, or like, and every time I see your name pop up, I'm like, I just know what you're going to say is very sweet. So it always makes me happy.
She's my aunt.
Is she really?
Thank you.
Mhm.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yes, she's my lovely aunt. She lives, I got to see her lots when I was in Toronto. She lives in the area. So hi, Auntie
Beautiful.
Kitty.
Thank you for
Yay.
thank you for commenting on our stuff. That's so cool.
Mhm. Yeah. Sweet.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
We'll talk to you next week.
All right. Take
God
care.
bless ya.
Bye.
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 Thank you for joining us for this episode of In the Thicket. If you like what you hear, give us a rating and hit that subscribe button. We have new episodes every Monday with more stories and honest conversations about life when the going gets rough, and the hope and humor amidst it all. We'd love for you to join our community on Instagram and Facebook at In the Thicket Podcast. While you're there, let us know how we can pray for you. God bless, and see you next week.